thought it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
They block the stars at night. The stars at night. I thought one day they'd show me the way. Show me the way home. Just a man, so wonderful. Thought this world could offer.
Hello, humans. Welcome back to the Slackline Quote of the Day broadcast. You are here once again with the boss.
Boss is coming.
That's a made-up dumb fairy tale name, you.
And as usual, we are chatting quotes again for you. It is Monday, March 5th, 2018. We are back chatting quotes with you guys. Took a few days off last week, was a little bit burnt out. Took a personal vacation because I can, and nobody can tell me otherwise. Was just kind of burnt out talking all the politics about the gun control. Tried to veer it off into some different types of topics, but all that stuff was still on my mind. And I don't know, just didn't really want to get into it too much, and got really swamped at the work that pays me, and so here we are again, taking in a quote and giving it to you guys with a different sort of perspective. We had my friend Dr. Zoe Arthurson McCall on the Big Slack line recording this weekend. That'll be out in a couple days, and we recommend anybody check that out. Really interesting conversation with her. She is a doctor of philosophy, and she is now working towards her JD. She's a JD candidate at Kent University in Chicago, which is a Juris Doctor, which is a law professor, doctorate of law, basically. And she's a cancer survivor, put herself through school, and she's only 26. And so she talked a little bit about sexism and ageism in her field, and we talked a little bit about her thoughts on some justice and Rosemary Aquilini's sentencing of Larry Nassar for his abuses, and the emotion that she used there. And we talked a little bit about the Florida shooting with her, because that is where she did her doctorate, and in Gainesville, Florida, which I don't think is very far from Parkland. And we got a little bit of a chat from her about all those topics. It was really interesting. So I really recommend anybody that is an avid Slackline listener. All four of you should definitely pay attention to that interview. And if you are listening for the first time, then you caught a good one. But we're back to quotes today. Our quote today is brought to us by our sponsor, Jerry is It Identifier. Fads change so rapidly, it's hard to know what's cool anymore. Stay with it before you leave the house with It Identifier. It will signal any fashion or pop culture faux pas that you may be committing, while suggesting other options for being cool. That is It Identifier, and it is bringing us our quote today, an Orson Welles quote. I passionately hate the idea of being with it. I think an artist always has to be out of step with their time. That again is Orson Welles, U.S. film director, playwright, radio host, all those fancy things. And this one stood out to me because it's something that I identify with, I struggle with a little bit. When you want to call yourself an artist, you like to think that your ideas are original, and even if they are, pulled from different ideas and sources, and a medley of themes or whatever, you like to think that because it was born out of you, that it must be a unique perspective or a unique take. And so it can be tough to follow art that is similar to yours. Like every time a new trailer for a movie comes out that looks similar to things I've written or things that I've imagined or want to write, I have a little mini panic in my heart that goes, oh no, somebody's done it first, and the fear is that you don't want to seem like you are derivative or plagiarizing, or like an idea wasn't uniquely yours, and nobody will ever believe you when you say, no, I had that idea first. It doesn't matter. Even if they do believe you, it doesn't matter. Somebody executed it before you, and it's something that you got to deal with, I guess. I don't know. I haven't quite experienced a full-fledged version of that yet. There are a few things. Obviously, like, nothing you do is really fully original, but even when things that are dangerously close, or like kind of on the same theme as your ideas start to come out, it can really kind of irk you. Where some people might think like, wow, that's really good, like that idea is popular, and so you obviously are on the right track, and you're kind of like, well, no, I don't want to be doing what's popular. I want to create something that becomes popular because it's different and because it speaks to people. Like that is the goal of an artist, I think. Versus, maybe somebody that just wants to be a monetary success at something. Even if you're like a salesperson, you can be an artist as a salesperson. It just means that you're a game changer. It means that you do things that other people don't recognize, things that people might think are crazy or different or out there, or specifically won't work because it's not the way that it's done. And then you start to do it, and people realize, oh, it's artistry, it's genius, whatever it is, and then it gets emulated, it gets copied, and that cycles back kind of to the quote. When you're with it, you've been sucked into kind of like a normal space, which is exactly where an artist doesn't want to be. As an artist, you don't want to be normal. You want to be different. You feel you are different. You feel you have different perspectives, and you feel like that needs to be exposed somehow, some way, and that people will get it or should get it. And you meet up with challenges. You meet up with people that want to block that. You meet up with people that don't believe you. They don't believe in what you're saying and what you're painting and what you're showing them. They don't believe it, or don't believe that it can be a thing that people are interested in or that people will buy. They don't believe a market exists for it. We see it all the time with in filmmaking, especially as far as not casting children because they think that they're unpredictable. Not casting African American people for the longest time because for whatever reason they think that won't be a box office draw, and just whitewashing film roles in general. Like British people playing Roman people all the time. You always have to have white people inserted into stories about Chinese or Japanese culture or whatever. Those things imply that there isn't a market for people that aren't that, which is obviously a joke. It's obviously not true. I mean, there's billions of people around the world that aren't white, and aren't, young men. So not every film or product or whatever needs to be catered to that demographic, even though it by and large is. So when somebody bucks that and goes after a different market and it's successful, people seem to act like, oh, this is surprising. Oh, this person was really smart. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, there's a market for that. I remember being in school and we were watching pitch videos for to use an example for how to sell, our film ideas. And this person had a really interesting idea, true story about two Korean news anchors who were kidnapped and taken to North Korea and made to do the news there as the propaganda machine for Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-il, and they spent a lot of time there and eventually orchestrated this very harrowing escape back across the border to South Korea. And like the way that this person was selling this, it was a really, really interesting story. And then the panel of judges is just like, well, where's the market for this? Like, what do you mean where's the market for this? It's in Korea. It's in the Asian markets across the world. And they kind of shrug their shoulders and go like, well, we don't know. Well, that's not what we do or whatever. And you're kind of like, there's way more people over there than there are here. Like, why wouldn't you want to go and make films for those people? What, they don't pay for movies? That mindset always kind of boggled me. But other challenge that you face as somebody trying to do something unique is the idea that people maybe won't get it, that it's too out there, too different. You're not explaining it right, which can be the case for sure. Whatever the case is, that's a challenge that you come up against, and that the idea is just too crazy. But then you see things like Sharknado and Human Centipede and whatever, and you're just kind of like, well, there's no idea that's too out there, obviously. So how do we sell this? And again, I think the biggest challenge is worrying about being seen as stealing, or even just like not illegally stealing, but like venturing into a genre or something just because you think it's popular. When you had this type of thing written down or idea long before that genre became a thing, and now everybody associates your script or your art or whatever it is with that genre or with that thing, and you're constantly having to be like, no, it's not like that. I can see why you would think that, but it's not. It's different, and here's why. And then as soon as people hear that it's different and here's why, you can see certain people, not all, but certain people just tune it out. But the ones that don't, they're artists too. The executives or whatever that see something different in somebody, that see something, utilizable in a or something raw in somebody that everybody else kind of dismisses, and they go, no, with a little bit of coaching or a little bit of guidance, I can do this. And again, there's artistry in that too. And I think that I agree that artists, they do want to be out of step, or they are out of step, and that they have to be in order to cause change. And that's what a lot of people get into the arts for. Not necessary, like it's not a necessity of artistry to want to cause change, but if you, or to be out of step, but if you want to be a mover, if you want to shake things, if you want to create genres, if you want to blend things, if you want to be a mosaic of an artist, then yeah, I think you must be thinking differently. So maybe that's where we'll end it for today. That quote again from Mr. Orson Welles: "I passionately hate the idea of being with it. I think an artist always has to be out of step with their time." Again, that is Orson Welles' quote brought to us today by It Identifier. Fads and trends change so rapidly that it's hard to know what's cool. Stay with it with It Identifier. It'll signal any fashion or pop culture faux pas that you may be committing while suggesting other options for being cool. That again is It Identifier, bringing us that Orson Welles quote today. Thanks again to Crooked Spies for providing their music for us. Please make sure you guys are all following the Instagram at the.slack.line, on Twitter at slackline_radio, and on YouTube and iTunes at the Slackline Podcast. You have been listening to The Boss.
The boss is coming!
That's a made-up dumb fairy tale name, you.
And we are out. We will see you guys again tomorrow for Tuesday. Bye for now.
Oh, high tide is when I ride. High tide, oh, high tide is when I ride. Continue to swim, waiting to drop it.